All right. I guess to say a good night of Shabbos to you. Um, I just say when I was figuring out what to speak about tonight, I was a little perplexed how much I should be speaking about Shabbos, how much I should be speaking about this, call it fake Shabbos Haggadah. But it's, as far as we are concerned, the preparations department, the Shabbos Haggadah, we'll speak about the Parsha. So I'm going to try a little bit to put it all together. But I would like to focus really on Shabbos a little bit, because for some reason Shabbos is just taken over by all the other subjects that we have, and Shabbos Hagadol has to do with the connection of Shabbos and Pesach. And I believe that there's what to explore on the subject, which people don't have a good grasp on the Shabbos. All right, we're going to start with a little bit of Shabbos has in it some fantastic idea, which I think that many people consider it unnerving. I had a fellow in my kollel that that he told me once that until I came to this kollel. Do you people all hear me, or you don't hear me? You hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right, because somebody wasn't hearing me. So I guess it's his fault, not mine. You hear me now, everybody? All right. So I'd like to say as follows. Shabbos, people find frustrating because you're stuck. There's nothing you can do. Every move that you make on Shabbos, you have to deal with some kind of halachic issue. You know, as the friend of mine who was in my kollel when we learned Shabbos said that before I was in this kollel, I thought everything was in Issa D'Oraisa. Now I found out it's not always in Issa D'Oraisa, but more things than I thought are Aser. So we have this kind of an issue of Shabbos really. Some people find it, so to speak, it locks them up. They're stuck. They can't really move. And there's a reason for that. Why is that so? What's that? Why is that so? That's the question which I would like to discuss, because Pesach is also called Shabbos. Mimachras HaShabbos. We bring the Omer from Machras HaShabbos, and Machras HaShabbos means the day after Pesach. So there's something about Pesach and Shabbos that are connected, and I would like to explore the idea. I'm going to ask a question that is novel. When I say that it's novel, it's because we don't usually translate things the way that we would literally, because we try to fit them into a idea that we understand. Hoidu Lashem ki tov. What are the next words? Ki la'olam chazdo.
Ki la'olam chazdo.
Ki la'olam chazdo. What does ki la'olam chazdo mean?
His kindness is forever.
What does that mean? This kindness is forever. You mean forever who will be doing kindness?
Oh, okay. I like that better.
What? No, it's saying what? No. It's what does it mean? Lev, what does it mean? Kilo Elam Chazdo.
His kindness endures forever. I don't know.
The kindness endures forever. That is, I think that is correct. That's the correct translation. And I don't understand why would we say that. I think if I was the one who was saying, I would say that he does forever kindness, like Yisrael has said. What does it mean what does it mean his kindness endures forever? What does that mean? What does it mean, a kindness that doesn't endure forever? What does that mean? Stanley, you want to help us out? You have to turn on your mic.
If you press your space bar, the mic goes on instantly.
Okay, you're on.
Instead of forever, I think maybe I'd say endless. His kindness is endless.
So what are we referring to when we say that? You know, Makkah v'chareihem Mitzrayim ki la'olam chasdo. What does that mean? How does it put together? What are we trying to say? Parrots, you have an answer to that question? Okay, I'm happy. Sometimes I say, I'm really happy that I ask a question about something that we're all supposed to know about, and like all of a sudden, you find out, hey, really what I've been doing all along, maybe I'm missing some understanding, and then we can put it together.
Maybe it means if he does a chesed, that chesed is permanent. It's not like when we do one that it's temporary.
Okay, we're going to go in that direction. Well, that needs an explanation. I'm going to start off with a philosophical question. Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu went in Mitzrayim and he killed the Bechorim. Lo yadei malach, lo yadei shliach, ala HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmo. Okay, we know there's a malach hamavis. The question which I have is a fascinating question. We know that the world is on positive creation every single minute. In other words, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you see like Yisrael Halperin is driving right now. So the reason why his car is moving is because he's giving gas the whole time, because he's pressing on the gas pedal, or the cruiser's pressing on the gas pedal, whichever one it happens to be at this time. But in reality, it looks like the car is just moving by itself, but there's really a force that's causing it to happen every minute. And that's what we say in Birchas Kriya Shema, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is forever creating and having the world happen. To us, it looks like it's a continuum, but in reality, it's a constant positive effort to have the world run. And the fact that we are alive is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us sustenance every second. That's how we're alive. What would happen if HaKadosh Baruch Hu stopped giving us sustenance? We would die. So why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu or the Malach HaMavis have to kill us? Why didn't he just turn the barriers off? Take your foot off the accelerator. You people got the question? Arya, you have the question?
Because his kindness is forever, and it never turns off.
Let's say you crossed your wires. I'm right now asking about death. Why does the Malach HaMavis HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to kill us? Why can't he just stop sustaining us? I saw one of my favorite bumper stickers, all-time bumper stickers, was on a dentist's car, and it said, "Ignore your teeth; they'll go away."
Right.
You don't have to do anything to have your teeth rot. That's exactly why they rot. If you don't put in the upkeep, they're not going to be there. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to stop giving you sustenance, so that the person will wilt away. He will just die. Why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu?
There's a difference. There's a difference between not existing and being dead.
Okay, now you're speaking like a philosopher. Tell me the difference.
Not existing means there's no remnant, there's nothing. It's zero, zilch. Dead is you're still there in this world, but you're still there somewhere.
And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would stop giving us life, we would turn into vapor. What would happen to us?
That's killing us. Then it's not.
I asked you, why is there a proactive act of killing, whether it's idea the Malach HaMavis or HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Why doesn't he just stop, turn the barriers off, and then we will wilt away.
You don't wilt away. You just aren't there.
I
There's
don't know.
then there's nothing there.
Maybe he just stopped the giving the sustenance to the neshama, and then the person would wilt away.
That's
The neshama would stop having its sustenance in the body, and that would be the end.
Isn't it?
But the neshama is part of it's part of Hashem. To do. He can't. He's not making the whole thing. He's making the physical parts.
Okay, so stop giving sustenance to the physical part.
Isn't it said that death is the last act of life? If the life is physical, then the death has to be done in a physical way. And when you know the Pirkei Avos says that the first life begins with a drop. The third parak, life begins with a drop, and life ends when a drop goes into the mouth, because the beginning is always inherent in the end. So if it's physical, it starts physical, it has to end that way, in a physical act.
Okay, all right. That's a very beautiful thought. I like that thought. I'm not going to say different than that. And maybe it'll bring a little bit of clarity to what you're saying. It's at least a parallel thought, and it has to do with what Peretz was groping in that direction. Kilo Adam Chazdo means that chesed is perpetual, because anything which HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, being HaKadosh Baruch Hu is naturally infinite, not finite. So the chesed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is infinite. And as somebody used that word, I think that was you, Stanley, that you had some word for it, that the chesed HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is as a much greater, what do you say, infinite? What was the word you used?
I said endless.
Endless. Okay.
Because forever ever implies just the time, but endless is in every way, in every possible way.
So this is where we are. So just like the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he does something, it resonates and it resounds for eternity. So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu kills, or he has his shliach kill, then that death is also eternal, and it's key to the person is dying all the time. It would just be a, pull the plug kind of a situation, not giving any more sustenance. So then it wouldn't be endless. It would be finite at that specific time. I'm going to say that over again. The idea, death, when it's done in a spiritual way with an act, is by far more potent and far-reaching than something that just ran out of gas. The finality of it is also eternal. And now I'm going to put this into a perspective of what we do understand. We understand that the Chagim happen every year on Leil HaSeder. We go out of Avdos Techerus, because that act of Klal Yisrael going Avdos Lecherus was an eternal act, and as the world returns to the same spot, it happens again. Not only that, and this is something which is fascinating. I said this over once on a Shabbos morning in Shul, but I didn't say the halachic background. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you look in the Ber Heitev, in Siman Tov Ayin Zayin, in the Mishnah Berurah, not in the Mishnah Berurah, but in Shulchan Aruch, so the Ber Heitev brings a minig that they would make a hole in the matzah from the afikomen, and they would hang it up. And the point of that is because it's, so to speak, a good luck charm. What does that mean, a good luck charm? Because the cheiros that the afikomen has, we actually are able to take it with us the whole year. It's not a memento of something that happened, but we can actually carry it over from one place to the other. When I was a kid and I learned mathematics, I was a kid before that everybody had on their cell phones a calculator. So you had to actually know how to add and subtract. and you would carry over. You know, when you're minusing or when you're adding, you carry over one column to the other. And I was always confused when I was little. What does it really mean? So you can go over to another place. We carry over. We Jewish doesn't die. He's niftar. He moves on from this place to another place because we are eternal. We have the Chagim, and the Ramban writes the reason why we don't take Besamim on Motzei Chag is because the Chag comes with us. Because it's not a Kadosh Baruch Hu creates it, we create it and we're able to take it with us. So we have over here an idea that Pesach, which is the beginning of Klal Yisrael's creation, we're in the Kila Olam Chazdo, where the things that happen eternally. That's step number one. Shabbos, we know there's a famous Maimer Chazal that if Eloi saw Shomer Shabbos Echas, then Mashiach would come. And we know also that the bracha of the coming week is going to come from Shabbos because there's a carryover. Shabbos has in it a natural carryover into the Sheshes Yemei HaMaaseh. Even though Shabbos is in a totally spiritual realm, not shaykh to the world of Maaseh, we actually are able to carry it over. All right. The mitzvahs have in them two things. We have aseis and los aseis. Shabbos has Zohar and Shamar. That means that Shabbos also can parallel all of the mitzvahs that we have. It has two components in it. Pesach also has a Zohar v'Shamar. Lel Shimurim Hu Lochem. Shamar. Now, what does it mean, Lel Shimurim? So the Anshe Kabbalah tell us Shimurim means that Shmira carries over into the week. Just the same idea as we spoke about when we discussed Shabbos has that idea that it can carry over into the week. We have a mitzvah to remember Sher Yotzaschem Mi Mitzrayim. What's the first word in that pasuk? Zochar. Right? So the same, here we have Pesach, we also have a Zochar and a Shamar. Smells like Shabbos to me. Right? So we said in the beginning that we bring the Omer Mimacharatz HaShabbos. So what does Matzah HaShabbos mean? Matzah HaShabbos means Matzah Pesach, Matzah Yom Tov Shel Pesach. And everybody, screws up their eyes trying to figure out what does that mean that it's Machras HaShabbos. Now we're already beginning to see that Shabbos of Pesach really is related to the Shabbos of Sheshes Yemei HaMaaseh. But let's try to get this to another Nekuda. A person is made on Shabbos on Chidushay Shel Oilo. When we speak about Shabbos, we say Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. That's what we say in Kiddush, right? Everybody knows that. Shabbos is Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. Can anybody explain to me how could Shabbos be Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim if Shabbos was around before Yitzias Mitzrayim? Shabbos was around over 1,000 years before Yitzias Mitzrayim. Almost 2,000 years. Right? I know I'm sorry to ask questions that are very obvious. So obviously when we say that it's Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, we're not talking about it that Shabbos reminds us of the event, but it means that there's something in Shabbos that we need Yetzias Mitzrayim to understand Shabbos. What could that be? What could that be?
Could it mean that just as Hashem made the world, he could, so to speak, unmake the world? turn everything upside down as he did in Egypt, which means that he not only made the world, but he's in total, complete control of the world.
Okay, all right. And now we see that in Mitzrayim. Why?
Why?
Because he made the Makos in Mitzrayim.
Yeah, he changed the whole laws of nature. Everything changed.
Okay. Stanley, I think that we're going to have to switch positions. We're going to get you to say, not going to come and listen. Okay. All right. So that's, I think you're very close to the issue over here. There's a difference between believing and seeing. What's the difference between believing and seeing? One is a shtickle Torah, and one is Pashup Pshat. When, if I ask you, is it day outside or night outside? And you tell me it's night, I believe you. Even if you're my best friend, you're my Rebbe, you're my father, you're my wife, whatever it is, and I really believe you 100%. I go outside and I see it. What's the lashon of Chazal? Einay doime shmiya l'riya. When I see it, you see it. It's already. It's not a shtickle Torah. Why is it night outside? So when someone says to me, "Why is it not outside?" So, I tell them, "Take a look." They don't need an explanation when you see it. What happened in Mitzrayim was the things that we believe in, we saw. We saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We saw the omnipresent. It wasn't the shtickle Torah. It wasn't an emunah. It was a reality. Obviously, it's a very low level of reality, and that's why Lela Pesach is called the lechem of emunah, because we are eating it and we see, and the more you see, the greater it is. So then the more you realize you don't understand. So it's like a vicious cycle. But it's the basic point, which we discussed this earlier this year sometime, the basic point is that, yes, we saw it, and therefore we're there. I'm with you, I'm on the page. Therefore, Shabbos is a throwback to Yetzias Mitzrayim, because the advantage of Yetzias Mitzrayim had over Shabbos is that we saw it. Now, we're not talking about it in time, but it's reminiscent of an understanding. And everybody understands that on Shabbos, we're someplace else. Where are we? We speak about Shabbos and we say Shabbos is me'ein olam haba. I don't know what that means, but I do know what some markers on the subject. Imagine you were standing in the army and the king came to review the troops. And there was a fly buzzing in your ear. Would you lift your hand to shoo it away? If you do, it's probably the last time you're going to do that, right? You're not going to do that because the king is there. Every single motion that you do, you're being scrutinized by the king, and you will think 1,000 times before you do anything. That's where you are on Shabbos. This is an idea of Shimshon Pincus. He discusses this idea. Shabbos, you're oimid lefnei Hashem. Everything that you do on Shabbos, you're doing it just like in Olam Haba. What does it mean? You could be Nene Miziv Hashchina. It's you and the Eibishter there together. That's what's going on Shabbos. In a certain sense, that's what's going on in the Leil HaSeder. Now, I'd like to say something about avoida, tefillah, korbanos in general. Who is the Av of avoida? Yitzchak Avinu. The Maral explains, so the Moshe Shapiro discusses this, what was the midah of Yitzchak? Pachad, Yira. Vayishava Pachad Yitzchak Aviv. You know what that means? That means that Yitzchak was standing in front of Hashem. I'm not saying that Avram and Yaakov weren't. That's not the subject. But his midah was the midah of standing in front of Hashem, and therefore the avodah, which we have, is an outgrowth of a person who stands in front of Hashem. Those who come to learn in the morning on Shabbos, the Mabit, Beis Elokim, so we just learned about this idea that until Noach, there was never an altar. Korbanos were brought on the floor. And he explains the reason why, because it was self-evident that the korban was to Hashem. After the proliferation of the world and confusion which came around, it had to make it clear that it was being brought to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so then the altar became a necessary object to make a mission statement. That's what the Mabit says. Pesach is that day that we make a statement. This is a fascinating idea. Shabbos is a day where that statement we live. Imagine we have a mitzvah on Shabbos to be ba'oinig. What's the difference between Shabbos and Yontif? So all the Sifrei Drush says that Shabbos is what's called kivet v'kaime. Shabbos is kavua. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives it to us. And Yontif is Mekadesh Yisrael B'azmanim. We have to make it happen. What's the difference between the two? Listen to this. I'm right now telling you a Sfas Emes, which is an amazing thought. For the Shalosh Regalim, we have an obligation to go up to Yerushalayim, to go to the Beis HaMikdash. On Shabbos, there's no such obligation. Why is that Shabbos you could do at home, and Yom Tov you have to go to the Beis HaMikdash? And he says as follows. There's two different aspects of our relationship with Hashem. We're familiar with this on Rosh Hashanah. Im kibonim, im kavodim. A ben, no matter how bad he is, he's still his father's son. It's not going to change. That relationship is kavua. He will be his son, and if he runs away, he's still his son. If his father banishes him, he's still his son. You can't really change that relationship. The Eved could go into Golus. The master could sell him away. In the relationship of Shabbos and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's static. It's not going to change. And we don't need any props to bring us there. That's why Shabbos can be done at your home in Beit Shemesh, or Florida. Whereas the Yom Tif, we're there, we're there as avodim. In the avodim department, we have an obligation to raise ourselves to a level that we find grace in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that we need to come to the Beis HaMikdash. And what happens in the Beis HaMikdash? Again, we see the Nisim, and therefore we straighten ourselves out. That's what happens when we come to the Beis HaMikdash on the Shalosh Regalim. So what happens over here is on Pesach, when we have, this is the first of the Chagim, we have this recognition where both of them come together. what comes together. I'd like to just tell you something which you all know, but I'm just gonna, this spin is not mine, it's from the earlier Mefarshim, which is a fascinating idea. Matzah refers to what? Cherus. Maror refers to Golus. We have to eat the Pesach with al matzos umrorim. We have to eat the Pesach al matzos umrorim. This is already getting complicated. What does that mean that we have to eat the Pesach with the matzah and the maror? So there are those who explain that the maror signifies the averis that we do, and the matzah symbolizes the mitzvahs that we do, the bitter and the cherus. When we go me'avdus l'cherus, there are two things that happen. We vanquish the bad, and we get the good. When I was a teenager, and I used to try to envision thoughts that are not really clear, we know that there are 49 levels of Tumah, and there's 49 levels of Kedusha. Are we talking about the same staircase and just a question which direction we're going, or are there two staircases? You understand the question? You all fell asleep on me?
Understand.
You understand? Okay. I believe that really there are two staircases. They just happen to always work at the same rate. We have on Pesach, when Klal Yisrael raises itself in a positive way, we shed away the negative. But it's two proactive things. What did we start off with? That the ruchnius happenings are kilo elam chazdo, they echo and they spread out all the way. Now, when they spread out, they get rid of the negative. And when chalila the other way around, the other thing happens. So what happens when we go me'avdus l'cherus, we do two things. We get rid of the maror, and at the same time, we take the matzah. How do we do that? With the Korban Pesach. Because Pesach signifies when we really see and feel and believe and can stand up on Shabbos and say Vayechulu because we have it, we believe it, and we see it. This is what happens in the night of the Seder. We're able to have the good grow, at the same time vanquish the bad, and we have them all together. And the Korban, where it's clear that we have this Ava and Yira of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is where it all comes together. So the Shabbos Hagadol, which is, you want to call it the kickoff of the Chagim, is where we have the Shabbos of this Kedusha, which bolsters that we're able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu properly on the Chagim. And that's why Shabbos is also Me'ah Moadim. We need to have it in the Moadim also. So as we come to this Shabbos Hagadol Parshas Vayikra, we have the Korbanos, which are the Yira, which give us the ability to do the things that are necessary to make sure that our Leil HaSeder is productive. I'm going to speak about it on Shabbos Hagadol in the Drosha, but the idea that the Leil HaSeder has to be done be'emu v'yira, and at the same time it has to be beheseva, derech cherus, is also the same idea that you have the two polarized ideas that come together in one night. And that's the thought for today. I'd like to thank all of you for being with me. And obviously next week we're not going to meet. We'll be checking for our chametz. And I believe that this is the end of the season. Mirz Hashem, after Pesach. Hope to see everybody in Shul. Shall have a good Shabbos, and hope to see you in Shul. Be well. Bye-bye.